The day before the wedding, Robert participated in Victoria, the elite socialite's high society selection event, and drew the winning lot/slip. He took what should have been my wedding ring and placed it on her finger as a token of their commitment, his eyes full of tenderness. This is the woman Robert is meant to marry. After the live broadcast, he called me. Victoria said, considering you've been with me for 5 years, she won't make a fuss about us getting married, and she'll even allow you to be my mistress. If you're smart about it, once Victoria gets pregnant, I'll let you remain on the estate. My jaw clenched, and I couldn't utter a word. Until I heard the ambiguous sound of rustling fabric from the other end of the line. Listening, I suddenly laughed out loud. Robert's voice turned icy cold. What are you laughing at? The entire elite circle knows Sarah has been with me for so long you're worn out. Now, what choice do you have besides begging me on your knees? He didn't know I would never be his mistress. And he didn't know that just yesterday, the brother of that elite socialite had personally come to me, offering a financial settlement 10 times more generous than the Roberts families. The sofa, the kitchen, even the balcony bore traces of their encounter. The ambiguous sounds from the bedroom continued. Robert, can you really let go of 5 years with Sarah? Robert held Victoria, his words emphatic. If you hadn't insisted on the high society selection event, making me wait 5 years, why would I have agreed to be with her? Victoria's eyes were like silk. She said flirtatiously, really? I don't believe you never felt anything for her. Robert sneered. You don't know. Every time I held her, it was from behind. Because when I saw her face, I couldn't perform. He lowered his head and kissed Victoria passionately. His gaze was so tender it could melt. Victoria, you're the only one who makes my heart stir. My lips were pressed together tightly. I tilted my head back and blinked hard to hold back the sting. I had thought he loved me, at least a little bit. But it turned out I was just a substitute to satisfy his desires while he waited for Victoria for 5 years. My mind was racing with thoughts. Unconsciously, I pushed the door open, and locked eyes with Robert immediately. Robert froze, staring at me as if in provocation, his movements becoming even more exaggerated. Changed your mind? He panted, a hint of triumphant manipulation in his voice. It's not so easy to come back now. Kneel there first. You can get up when Victoria and I are finished. I tried to stay calm. Robert, I'm here to pack my things and go our separate ways. Robert pulled away, scoffing as if he'd heard a joke. Who in the world doesn't know you've been chasing after me like a leech all these years? Begging to be with me, begging for me to sleep with you, begging for me to marry you. Go our separate ways? Sarah, do you even believe that yourself? I didn't want to argue with him. I just quietly started packing my things. Seeing that I wasn't faking it, he clicked his tongue in annoyance, stepped forward, and grabbed my wrist. Sarah, what kind of tantrum are you throwing? Don't you consider your background? How can you compare to Victoria? Your family's assets aren't even enough for her 2 handbags. What's wrong with me choosing Victoria? Blame your parents for not being successful, blame yourself for being born on the wrong side of the tracks. Besides, even getting married, I'm still offering you a position as my mistress. What more do you want? What more do I want? My eyes instantly turned red. I shook off Robert's hand. I already said, we're going our separate ways. Robert laughed, exasperated. Fine. If you want to make a scene, go ahead. He turned back and continued embracing Victoria, deliberately making the bed squeak loudly. If you have the guts, don't come crawling back begging me. I took a deep breath, trying hard to control my emotions. I took one last look at the room that was supposed to be ours, then quickly left, dragging my suitcase. I hadn't even thought about how to explain this to my parents. My mom had even embroidered an embroidered handkerchief by hand, wishing for Robert and me to be together forever. I didn't care what happened to me, but thinking about my parents, an endless wave of sadness washed over me. I crouched by the roadside, tears streamed down her face uncontrollably. A black Bentley slowly pulled up in front of me, and the window rolled down. Alexander's sharp profile came into view. Get in. I sat nervously beside him, my peripheral vision catching sight of his disabled leg. Rumor had it that due to his leg injury, he was moody and difficult, a completely ruthless lunatic. Have you considered it? His voice was low, carrying the pressure of a man in power. Honestly, I hardly dared to consider it. 30% of Sterling Corporation shares as a financial settlement was outrageous. I subconsciously bit my lip. Why me? There was no woman he couldn't have. Why would he trade half his fortune for me? Alexander chuckled softly, his long fingers tracing the cane. Have you ever considered that it could only be you? I was forced to look up and meet his gaze. It was filled with a possessiveness that startled me. As if possessed, I nodded. I will. The Roberts family had already arrogantly informed my parents that the engagement was off. Seeing me home safe, they finally relaxed. I was still trying to figure out how to explain things with Alexander. My dad and mom exchanged a look and pushed a gift box towards me. From someone at the Sterling estate. I opened the box. Inside was an heirloom pendant passed down through generations of Eleanor Sterling, the family matriarch. Daughter, no matter who you decide to marry, your father and I only want you to be happy. I looked at my mother's eyes, which had suddenly turned red, and nodded firmly. Although Alexander and I hadn't publicly announced our engagement, he still invited me to his private birthday dinner. I specifically ordered a Patek Philippe watch as a birthday gift. I didn't expect to bump into Robert head-on just as I entered the Sterling estate. His pupils constricted the moment he saw me, and he forcefully pulled me into a corner. Sarah, are you crazy with wanting me? Today is Alexander's birthday dinner, and you dared to sneak in? Victoria and my engagement has already been announced. Making a scene at the Sterling estate won't achieve anything, it will only make me more annoyed with you, understand? His self-important rant made me laugh in exasperation. I was just about to explain. He glanced at the gift in my hand and rolled his eyes helplessly. This routine again. Every time we argue, it's the same three things: crying and apologizing, giving gifts, and taking off your clothes. Can't you come up with something new? I know marrying me has always been your dream, but people can't live in fantasies. It's pretty generous of me to even secure you a mistress position. People need to learn to be content. Got it? Not only can you keep taking care of me, but once Victoria gets pregnant, you can remain on the estate to help care for her after the baby is born. Besides, if you manage to please Victoria, a little bit from Sterling Corp's leftovers would be enough for your family to live off for a lifetime. I couldn't stand it anymore and cut him off directly. Robert, I'm not here to be your mistress, and the gift isn't for you. Robert's eyes immediately darkened. He snatched the gift from my hand and tore it open roughly. What are you doing? I said it wasn't for why. Oh, you! I frantically reached out to grab it, but he just kicked me to the ground, then took out the watch. Heh, the size is perfect. He smugly turned his wrist, glancing at me dismissively, still saying it's not for me? Trying to play hard to get? Give it back! My eyes were red, and I lunged at him. But Robert just raised his hand high with a cold laugh. Sarah, if you keep throwing tantrums like this, you won't even be my mistress. What are you doing? Victoria's voice came from behind me. Robert snatched his hand back abruptly, a flicker of panic on his face. Victoria, why are you here? My brother came down to greet someone personally. Of course I followed. Didn't expect to find you flirting with Sarah. Victoria's eyes swept over Robert and me with malicious intent. Robert quickly stepped forward to appease her. Victoria, she insisted on coming to beg for my forgiveness and even gave me a watch. If I hadn't stopped her, she would have already gone inside and made a scene. As if to prove it, Robert took off the watch and handed it to Victoria. Victoria took the watch and scoffed. Sarah, you think a watch like this is acceptable? She flipped her hand and smashed the watch onto the floor, her sharp high heel grinding down on it. The glass face immediately shattered into a spider web. Trying to steal my man? You don't know your place. Tears streamed down her face. I lunged forward like a madwoman and slapped her. How dare you? That was mine. Victoria clutched her face and shrieked. You hit me. You actually hit me. Robert nervously pushed me away and went to check on Victoria's face with concern. Victoria raised a hand and had her bodyguards hold me down, then said to Robert, Robert, she hit me. What should you do? Before I could even react, Robert turned and slapped me. My left cheek instantly burned, and blood seeped from the corner of my mouth. Let go of me! I struggled desperately, my voice hoarse. Robert, that wasn't meant for you. Robert's eyes were cold. I've been too lenient with you. You deserve this lesson. After he finished speaking, he slapped my face again and again. Gradually, my consciousness began to fade. My ears were ringing, and I couldn't hear the sounds around me clearly. In my blurry vision, I saw Victoria's arrogant laughter as she held up her phone, recording. Last slap, Sarah. Learn to control your temper. If you ever dare to harm Victoria again, I will never let you stay by my side. The final slap landed, and I coughed up a tooth. My vision went black, and I passed out. When I opened my eyes again, the smell of disinfectant filled the air. My mom was slumped by my bedside, her hair disheveled. Seeing that I was awake, tears streamed down her face immediately in distress. Oh, thank goodness. It's good you're awake. I'll go get the doctor. Watching her back, something felt off. Why was she covered in mud, when she was always so meticulous? On my phone, Alexander's calls and messages were all 99 plus. I didn't want him to worry, so I lied and said I wasn't feeling well due to my period and had fallen asleep after taking medicine. There was silence for a moment, then he sent a cute cat emoji, rest well. I was a bit surprised. Thinking of him sending such an emoji with his usual stern face, I couldn't help but smile. He was completely different from the rumors. After the doctor came and checked me, finding no major issues, I hesitated before speaking. Mom, My mom waved her hand, hugged me, and her voice choked. Don't say anything, you've suffered. Did my parents find out? Speaking of which, where's my dad? I asked, looking at my mom in confusion. At the mention of this, my mom burst into tears. Daughter, your dad and I were useless. We couldn't get you justice. Mom, what happened? I gripped her hand tightly, a bad feeling rising up my spine. My mom took out her phone, her voice trembling. Someone sent us the video of you being beaten. Your dad couldn't stand it. He went to Robert to reason with him and demand an apology for you. But the Roberts family was afraid of the matter escalating, so they insisted your dad delete the video and threatened him not to talk about it. How could your dad listen? But I didn't expect. My mom's hands shook as she cried. They actually broke your dad's leg, dragged him into the Roberts estate, and locked him up, saying they wouldn't release him until Victoria and Robert were married. The blood in my veins instantly froze. I immediately swung my legs out of bed. I told my mom to call Alexander and rushed straight to the Roberts estate myself. I frantically rang the doorbell at the Roberts estate, my heart pounding as if it would explode. My dad already had underlying health conditions. How could he endure such torment? The large gate opened. Victoria stood at the entrance wearing a bathrobe, looking at me with a mocking expression, looking for. I didn't wait for her to finish, pushing past her and rushing inside. Robert was shirtless, glaring at me, looking completely exasperated. Sarah, what in the world does your family want? Coming here one after another, trying to make a scene? Robert, where is my dad? Robert, with Victoria in his arms, said indifferently, don't worry, after all, he's my former father-in-law. I found a doctor for him. He's just being held for a while. We'll release him after Victoria and I get married. Release my dad now, or I'll take this to Alexander. My hands were clenched tightly, and I stared at him defiantly. Robert's lips curled into a sneer. Sarah, who do you think you are? You dare threaten me with Alexander? Victoria is the Sterling family's princess, the most favored socialite. Compared to her, what are you? Victoria snuggled into Robert's embrace, lifting her chin smugly. My brother loves me the most. Who do you think he'll believe? Tears streamed down her face. Robert, my dad were very good to you, and I never wronged you in these 5 years. Do you even have a heart? Robert frowned, a look of understanding on his face. I knew it. Ultimately, you haven't given up on marrying me. Didn't your dad also want to sabotage my wedding with Victoria so I would marry you? Sarah, you love me this much. If it weren't for Victoria, maybe I would have been moved by you. But right now, I'm completely disgusted by you. Do you have no self-respect? Do you have absolutely no shame? Why are you still clinging to me? Why do you insist on me marrying you? My emotions erupted instantly. I grabbed the ashtray nearby and threw it at him. I told you already, go our separate ways. We have nothing to do with each other anymore. Amidst Victoria's startled cry, Robert clutched his head, which was bleeding profusely. Robert roared in anger, grabbing my neck and pressing me against the wall. Bitch. Just then, my dad, dragging his broken leg, rushed out from the corner and slammed into Robert. You animal. He didn't finish speaking before he clutched his chest and fell stiffly to the ground. I dropped to my knees abruptly, collapsing and crying hysterically. Ambulance. Call an ambulance. Robert merely glanced dismissively, saying flatly, gaining sympathy won't work either. He then turned to comfort Victoria, who had been startled, and warned me, Sarah, your chances are used up. You won't even get to be the one by his side. Suddenly, the sharp screech of brakes sounded at the entrance. Alexander's private doctor rushed in with an emergency medical team, pushing aside Robert, who was frozen in place. I knelt on the ground, trembling as I held my dad's increasingly cold hand. Hang on, please. Robert, holding the stunned Victoria, sneered and took out his phone. This act, you really spent a fortune on it, didn't you? Even hired a professional team to perform with you? Is the next step using your dad's death to force me to marry you? Quite a show. Alexander, leaning on his cane, walked slowly towards us, radiating a terrifying aura. With a single glance, he signaled, and the doctors immediately loaded my dad onto the ambulance. Alexander? Why are you here? Victoria's face instantly turned pale, her voice changing pitch. Alexander didn't even spare her a glance, his eyes fixed on my still red and swollen cheek. He let out a laugh that held no clear meaning. If I didn't come, you'd probably cause chaos. Victoria subconsciously took a step back at his words, and Robert didn't dare to breathe loudly. Alexander, it's not what you think. I'm the one who's been wronged. She pointed at me, speaking tearfully. I drew lots and chose Robert, and she still shamelessly came to pester him. She even dared to sneak into the Sterling estate for your birthday dinner to find Robert, begging him to leave me, and slapped me over a watch. If you don't believe me, ask Robert. That watch is proof. Robert quickly nodded, stating righteously, that watch is on her. All three pairs of eyes turned towards me. I reached into my pocket and indeed found the broken watch. The LJC engraved on the back of the dial was also badly worn. Give it to me. Victoria snatched it from my hand and respectfully handed it to Alexander. Alexander, see? I wasn't lying. Alexander took the watch, turning it over in his hand, his expression growing darker. But Victoria acted as if she had found proof against me, saying wildly, but the Sterling family isn't somewhere just anyone can bully. I retaliated tenfold, 100-fold. The cane in Alexander's hand creaked as he gripped it, and he asked coldly, how did you retaliate? She slapped me. So I had someone hold her down and made Robert slap her 100 times, until she lost a tooth. And I even sent the video of her being beaten to her parents, so they could see what kind of trash they raised. But her parents were really clueless, they even came here demanding Robert apologize to her. Robert frowned as he listened. At the time, he had been blinded by anger. Thinking back now, he really shouldn't have been so cruel to Sarah. After all, he'd never find another person who loved him to death like she did. His gaze, filled with a hint of guilt, fell upon me, his tone unusually gentle. Sarah, apologize to Victoria and explain clearly to her brother, okay? Victoria let out a cry of displeasure at being interrupted and sneered, no need. Robert, don't forget, her parents even wanted to use the video to threaten you and me and sabotage our wedding. If you hadn't broken her dad's leg and locked him up, we might have already been slandered and attacked online. Alexander, you must get justice for me and punish her severely, or people will think the Sterling family is easy to bully. Robert pulled Victoria back. Victoria, let's just drop it. Sarah must know she was wrong. Victoria violently shook off Robert's hand, her eyes vicious. Do you still have feelings for her? Why else would you be soft? Robert glanced at me, hesitated, then appeased Victoria. I'll do whatever you say. Alexander suddenly let out a low laugh, but it was chillingly cold. Then tell me, how should she be punished? Even Robert sensed that Alexander's attitude was off, but Victoria was oblivious, saying excitedly, if you ask me, first I want her to kneel on broken glass and beg me on her knees for forgiveness, and scar her face so she can't seduce Robert anymore. Then I'll lock her in a dog cage and only let her eat dog food every day, making her watch the live broadcast of Robert and my wedding. Finally, I'll CK her in a mental institution and post videos online for everyone to see what happens when you offend the Sterling family. After saying this, Victoria fearlessly moved closer to Alexander, completely unaware of the murderous look in his eyes. Alexander, what do you think? Alexander suddenly delivered a backhand slap that completely stunned Victoria. Alexander. She clutched her face, looking at Alexander disbelievingly. Alexander stared at her with cold eyes, then slowly raised his hand and slapped her again. Robert suddenly had a bad feeling. Even though she was being slapped, Victoria didn't dare to dodge. She was terrified. What did I do wrong? Was the punishment I suggested too light? Not cruel enough? Did I not act like a Sterling, or did I somehow offend you? Alexander glanced at her, took out a handkerchief, walked over to me, and gently wiped away the tears on my face. Such a big thing happened. How did you hide it from me? It must hurt a lot. Robert was greatly shocked. He couldn't believe his eyes. How did Sarah get involved with Alexander? He immediately started racking his brain, recalling the details of his time with Sarah. He swallowed hard, suddenly realizing about the watch at the birthday dinner that day. It really wasn't for him. Even more, the person Alexander came down to greet personally was Sarah. Otherwise, Alexander wouldn't have canceled the birthday dinner at the last minute after not finding the person. Thinking of this, Robert felt a chill run down his spine. Victoria was still persistent. Alexander? What are you doing? She's just Sarah. Alexander turned his head indifferently, glancing at her as if she were already dead. Sarah is my fiancée, and she is the family matriarch of the Sterling estate. What? Victoria stumbled back in fear, her high heel snapping with a crack, and she fell messily onto the ground. How is that possible? Xander, she's just a persistent bitch. How could she be my sister-in-law? Robert, quickly tell Alexander. Sarah was with you for 5 years. You two were supposed to get married. She couldn't possibly. Robert had a feeling he was doomed. He had no intention of going along with Victoria and offending Alexander further. More importantly, how could Sarah agree to marry Alexander? She clearly loved him to death. He looked at me bitterly. Sarah, you can't marry him. The only person you want to marry is me, right? Alexander frowned upon hearing this, a hint of ruthlessness flashing in his eyes. Robert, what are you? Dare to ask her such a question in front of me? He turned and said coldly to the bodyguards, go, restrain both of them. Slap each person 100 times, until they're a bloody mess. The bodyguards responded instantly, ignoring Victoria's screams, and acted ruthlessly. Robert tried to struggle, but after 2 punches, he quickly quieted down. Are you scared? My methods are quite brutal. Alexander held my hand and asked softly. Looking at his sharply defined profile, I felt as though he was a large, uneasy cat right now. Following my heart, I stood on my tiptoes and kissed his cheek. No, I'm not scared. Thank you. Instantly, Alexander's brows slowly relaxed, and the corner of his mouth curved upward slightly. Alexander brought me directly back to the Sterling estate. The decorations from the birthday dinner hadn't been completely removed yet. Because of me, he hadn't been able to properly celebrate his birthday. Sarah, rest today. Tomorrow I'll show you around so you can get familiar with the place, okay? He gently applied medicine for me. His eyes held a tenderness I had never seen in Robert's. He was so cold and indifferent to outsiders, but with me, he only showed his gentle side. For a moment, my heart was melting. I voluntarily buried my face in his hands. Alexander, can I make up this birthday for you? His fingertips trembled slightly, and he nodded. I immediately got up and bustled into the kitchen. The skills I had specifically learned at the cake shop came in handy. Alexander leaned against the doorframe, watching me quietly. For the first time, he felt that this sterling mansion, which felt like a prison, had the warmth of a home. When the cake was ready, I turned off the lights and met his gaze in the dim candlelight. Finally, I clearly saw the deep affection in his eyes. I wish for Sarah to be by my side every year. You can't say your wish. I made to cover his mouth. His eyes were gentle. I'm making this wish to you. Will you help me make it come true? My heart pounded like thunder. I blew out the candles with him. Alexander, I will. Just as I was about to say goodnight, I looked down and saw the broken watch on his wrist. My eyes couldn't help but turn red. The watch he originally wore on his wrist was countless times better than this one. But he treasured my heartfelt gift so much. Alexander. I still want to ask why me. Alexander stopped his turn, hesitating for a few seconds. He led me into the bedroom, closed the door, and raised his hands to unbutton his shirt, one by one. His muscular upper body was revealed before me, a hideous scar making my eyes widen. When did he get such a severe injury? He took my hand and gently ran it over the scar. I wasn't the head of the Sterling family from the beginning, and my leg wasn't disabled since birth. Do you remember? 10 years ago, you saved a beggar. My fingertips trembled violently, and the memory replayed. That bloodied beggar was him? Without you, there would be no Alexander today. Sarah, it could only be you. I looked up, too many emotions swirling in my chest. I couldn't hold back and closed my eyes, leaning in to kiss him. Breaths caught abruptly. Next second, he cupped the back of my head and took the lead and deepened the kiss. Outside, lightning flashed and thunder roared, and the rain poured down. Inside, his rough fingertips were slowly unbuttoning my clothes. As we became one, I heard him whisper hoarsely, Sarah, I'm so happy. Early morning, before I was fully awake, I heard a noisy clamor downstairs. Alexander rubbed my head. It might be a little noisy. It's okay. I'll go down with you and see. Downstairs, Victoria was sitting on the sofa, weeping, and a well-maintained woman was constantly comforting her. Seeing Alexander come down with his arm around me, she shot up from the sofa. Is that how a brother acts? Helping an outsider bully your own sister? Your late father would turn over in his grave. Was she Alexander's mother? Alexander stared at her with cold eyes, radiating immense pressure. The wealthy woman continued yelling, if you don't give me an explanation today, I'll call all the Sterling family elders here and show them what a disrespectful descendant you are. I looked at Alexander's face with concern. Alexander's lips curved into a chillingly cold smile. Sister? You just had a bastard child from your affair. You dare call her my sister? The entire living room fell silent. The wealthy woman's face turned pale, her carefully applied red lipstick trembling. What nonsense. Victoria stopped pretending to cry, standing up with wide eyes. Impossible. How can I not be a Sterling? She turned to me, her eyes full of malice. You bitch are sowing discord. Alexander, don't believe her. Alexander calmly pulled a recording device from his jacket and pressed play. The old geezer is finally dying. Quick, change the will. Mustn't leave a single cent to that disabled son. I've finally made it. Michael, I will protect Victoria well. This is the only thing you left me. Let alone Victoria, even I was greatly shocked. Back then, for this bastard child, you even tried to kill me. Today is a good day. Let's settle all scores. Alexander waved his hand, and the bodyguards immediately pinned the wealthy woman down. The wealthy woman's eyes were bloodshot with fury. If your dad hadn't taken Michael's position, he wouldn't have died. You and your dad are cut from the same cloth. What's wrong with me getting revenge for Michael? Alexander said nothing, signaling with his eyes, and the bodyguards dragged them away. Only Victoria remained. She couldn't believe she wasn't of the Sterling family bloodline. Victoria, it's your turn. Alexander's voice was low, frightening Victoria into backing away repeatedly. You understand punishment so well. We'll do exactly as you suggested. He turned and said sternly to the bodyguards, go prepare a dog cage, fill it with broken glass, strip her naked, and lock her in. Only let her eat dog food every day. On the day Sarah and I get married, broadcast the wedding live for her to watch. Victoria's pupils constricted. She screamed and wailed in terror. Seeing the bodyguards coming for her, she scrambled on her hands and knees towards my leg. Sarah, I was wrong. I'll beg you on my knees, I'll apologize to you, please let me go. I won't dare to compete with you anymore, I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. I stepped back. Victoria, when you and Robert almost killed my dad, there was no way I could ever let you go. Victoria collapsed limply onto the ground, then suddenly shrieked and lunged at me, her eyes full of malice. But Alexander sent her sprawling with a backhand slap. Get her out of here. From the dog cage, Victoria's malicious curses and wails continued. Alexander gently took my hand. Let's go see my parents. I nodded, genuinely wanting to see if my parents were safe. I just didn't expect to bump into Robert head-on. He was holding a variety of gifts. Seeing me, his eyes lit up. Sarah, I'm here to apologize to my former in-laws. I've figured it out. I don't love Victoria at all. The person I've always loved is you. It's just that I got used to having you around all these years and didn't confront my true feelings. Sarah, how about we go ahead with our wedding? I'll buy you a bigger diamond ring and make you the happiest bride. Before I could even speak, Alexander stepped in front of me protectively. Robert, there's a limit to your audacity. Robert glared at Alexander. Heh, you just took advantage of the situation. Sarah loved me for 5 years. You think she can just get over me in a few days? Besides, he sneered, looking at Alexander's disabled leg, and you're disabled. I had originally wanted to explain things civilly, but it seemed unnecessary now. Robert, I admit I loved you, but when you participated in Victoria's selection event, there was no possibility left between us. Robert was hit hard, but he still insisted. I was just blinded for a moment. It was all Victoria's doing, she beguiled me, that's why I made a mistake. But Sarah, you can't deny me even one chance after a mistake. Can't 5 years together earn me one more chance? 5 years? I let out a cold laugh, but tears streamed down her face uncontrollably. You put our wedding ring on her hand in front of the entire elite circle. To please her, you beat me severely. For your wedding, you even harmed my family. These are all facts. Robert, you used up my feelings for you completely long ago. I don't love you anymore, I don't love you. I never want to see you again. I was in agony, practically screaming it out. Alexander's warm hand gently rested on my shoulder, offering silent comfort. Robert seemed to have all his strength drained away, collapsing onto the ground. Sarah. Sarah. I turned and linked my arm through Alexander's, wanting to leave. Alexander, let's go see my parents. But Robert crawled over on his knees, trying to grab the hem of my dress. I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Please just give me. Get lost. Alexander pushed him away with his cane, his eyes sharp as knives. Robert, if you don't want the Roberts family to go bankrupt, then don't come harassing my fiancé anymore. Alexander and my wedding was held quickly. During the rehearsal, Victoria, smelling awful, rushed out from a corner. Unfortunately, she was blocked by bodyguards before she could reach me. Sarah, please, I'm begging you, don't let him send me to the mental institution. If you can save me, I'm begging you. In this state, there was no trace of the arrogant elite socialite she once was. Alexander clicked his tongue, and her mouth was immediately covered. Unaffected, I linked my arm through Alexander's. It's fine, let's continue the rehearsal. On the wedding day, all the elite socialites were present. Alexander gave me the most perfect wedding. In the bridal suite, my mom couldn't stop her tears. Seeing me happy, she was even more joyful than I was. Daughter, your father and I can die happy seeing you marry a man who is worthy. My eyes were also filled with tears, and I hugged my mom. Those 5 years with Robert felt like a nightmare. Now, I had finally woken up. From now on, as long as Alexander and I were together, every day would be a good day. I stood with Alexander at the entrance greeting guests, and from a distance, I saw Robert rushing towards us. He was wearing a white wedding suit, dressed like a groom. He was stopped by bodyguards arranged by Alexander. He was holding a sign with the words "Marry Me" written on it. Robert was yelling hysterically, "Sarah, look at me! I wore your favorite white suit. Do you remember our first year together? You wished upon a shooting star that we would never be apart." I chuckled softly. It was true. But back then, I didn't know that a wish made upon a shooting star was ultimately destined to fall. Just like my feelings for Robert, only a pile of ashes remains. Alexander noticed I was distracted. His hand wrapped around my cold fingers. "Do you want to see him?" I shook my head. "No. Have the bodyguards drag him away as soon as possible." Robert's shouting grew fainter and fainter. Meanwhile, I walked towards the wedding hall with my arm linked through Alexander's, without looking back. After exchanging rings, Alexander and I kissed while smiling. This scene was broadcast live on big screens throughout the city. Victoria, being restrained in the mental institution, watched the entire event, letting out inhuman wails. Robert, who was thrown out of the venue, knelt on the ground in despair, like a beaten dog. A year later, Alexander gently stroked my belly. The baby inside kicked him playfully. I looked towards the sunrise on the horizon. Everything was so beautiful.